Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1899 Cleveland Spiders MLB baseball season. It was actually the last year of existence of the Cleveland Spiders. They were playing again in the National League, the Senior Circuit, and at League Park in Cleveland in the few home games that they had that year. They finished in 12th and last place. Their record, they won 20 games, lost 134 for a winning percentage of 130. 84 games out of first. And this is considered the worst record of any team in MLB history. And actually, they were designed to lose, to be honest, strangely enough. Hard to believe. The first place team was the Brooklyn Superbas, who finished 101-47. Second place, the Boston Beaneaters, 95-57. Third place, the Philadelphia Phillies, 94-58. Fourth place, the Baltimore Orioles, 86-62. Fifth place, the St. Louis Perfectos, 84-67. Sixth place, the Cincinnati Reds, 83-67. Seventh place, the Pittsburgh Pirates, 76-73. Eighth place, the Chicago Orphans, 75-73. Ninth place, the Louisville Colonels, 75-77. 10th place, the New York Giants, 60-90. 11th place, the Washington Senators, 54-98. And in 12th and last place, the Cleveland Spiders at 20-134. Again, there was no World Series in 1899. The Brooklyn Superbas finished in first place, winning the pennant, and they were the MLB champions for 1899. Before the season, Spiders owner Frank Robeson purchased the St. Louis Browns, and so that meant he owned two teams, and he transferred the best Spiders players to the St. Louis team, which he renamed the Perfectos. As I said, the 1899 Spiders had the worst record in MLB history. Frank Robeson said this to manager Lave Cross, quote, "I am not interested in winning games here in Cleveland. Play out the schedule. That's your job." The thing is, Robeson, well, he decided to, this was his method to try to build a strong team by having two teams and putting the best players from both on one team. He was also mad at Cleveland for the conflicts that he had and with the Protestant ministers and with the labor unions and so forth. Now, the attendance at the games at League Park was so low that gate receipts were as low as $25 per game in a game. In other words, the income from ticket sales. After the first 27 games, the Spiders played 50 straight games on the road from July 3 to August 23. So again, they actually didn't have many games at home. Most of the games were transferred on the road because the attendance was so bad, and the opposing teams refused to come to Cleveland. They said, "We're not coming to Cleveland because we're losing money if we come there." They had a 2-game winning streak, which was the most of the year. So it was a tough year. The Brooklyn Daily Eagle reported this, quote, "Will somebody please tell the Clevelands that fly balls are intended, according to the rules of the game, to be caught?" One League Park game played at League Park against the Spiders and Pirates. There were 100 fans, and actually the Spiders won that game 6-2. The Plain Dealer called it, quote, "the eighth wonder of the world," because they were they were losing, so winning a game was a wonder. The last 41 games of the season, the Spiders' record was 1-40. The attendance for games played at League Park for the entire year were 6,000 for the whole year. Now, it was reported that the Spiders players were undistinguished minor leaguers, rejects from other teams, and fast-fading veterans hoping to hang on one last season. No pitcher for the Spiders won more than 4 games. Now, the interesting thing is Frank Robeson, as we said, purchased the St. Louis team from Chris Vander who had seriously mismanaged the St. Louis Browns. he had erected a statue of himself outside the ballpark. Frank Robison's brother Stanley was left in charge of the Spiders in Cleveland in 1899. Not an easy job, tough job. They had spring training at a high school gymnasium in Terre Haute, Indiana. There was no team photo, no new uniforms. The St. Louis Browns' 1898 uniforms were used. They removed the St. Louis from the front of the shirt, but the outline was still there in stitching marks, which was demoralizing. However, actually highlighted the year the Spiders pulled off a triple play on August 18th. On August 25th, at a game at League Park, the attendance for the game was 100. Now, Leif Cross was the first manager for the team. He was a catcher, third baseman, and his record as a manager was 8-30 before he was relieved of his duties. As a player, Cross hit .286, 5 doubles, a home run, 20 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 55 games. Cross was from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He died in Toledo, Ohio in 1927 at age 61. A career average of .292, 2,645 hits. So he had a fine career, 47 home runs, 1,371 RBIs. Cross played for the Louisville Colonels, Philadelphia Athletics, Philadelphia Quakers, Philadelphia Phillies, St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, St. Louis Perfectos, St. Louis Cardinals, Brooklyn Superbas, and Washington Senators between 1887 and 1907. In 1899, the Spiders returned to Cleveland after an 8-30 start. Oh no, in 1899, Spiders returned to St. Louis. Okay. Leif Cross was one of MLB's all-around players at the turn of the century. When he retired, he was the 5th in MLB history in hits and RBIs, at 9th in doubles and total bases. He was 3rd in games played and at bats. 5 times he was the MLB fielding percentage leader for third baseman. His full name was Lafayette Napoleon Cross. His real name was Vratislav Kritz, one of the first MLB players of Eastern European descent, Leif Cross. Now, he was replaced as manager by Joe Quinn, who finished the year as manager, and his record as a manager was 12-104. He was the starting second baseman. Quinn hit .286, 24 doubles, 6 triples, 72 RBIs, 22 stolen bases in 147 games. Quinn was from Ipswich, Queensland, Australia. He died in St. Louis, Missouri in 1940 at age 75. Career average of .261, 29 home runs, 794 RBIs. His managerial record was 23-132, 148 winning percentage. Quinn played for the St. Louis Maroons, Boston Beaneaters, Boston Reds, St. Louis Browns, Baltimore Orioles, Cleveland Spiders, St. Louis Cardinals, Cincinnati Reds again, and Washington Senators between 1884 and 1901. And he was the manager for the St. Louis Browns in 1895, and also the Spiders in 1899. His parents were Irish immigrants to Australia. Quinn was the only MLB Australian player until Craig Shipley in 1986. He was a good defensive player, 2-time National League leader in fielding for second baseman. He was the best hitter on the 1899 Spiders. After he retired, before he retired and after, he owned a funeral home. He's in the Australian Baseball Hall of Fame. There was a joke, people know he had this business, that he was it was very, very fitting that an undertaker was the boss of a lifeless team. Joe Quinn. Joe Sugden was the starting catcher. Sugden hit .276, 5 doubles, a triple, 14 RBIs, 2 stolen bases in 76 games. Sugden was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He died in Philadelphia in 1959 at age 88. Career average of .255, 3 home runs, 283 RBIs. Sugden played for the Pittsburgh Pirates, St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, Chicago White Sox, and Detroit Tigers between 1893 and 1912. His last game, he got his last hit as a coach for the Tigers. The players were on strike because of the suspension of Ty Cobb, so he ended up playing. He was a scout for the Cardinals until his death at age 88. Joe Sugden. Tommy Tucker was the Spiders' first baseman. Tucker hit .241, 19 doubles, 3 triples, 40 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 127 games. Tucker was from Holyoke, Massachusetts. He died in Montague, Massachusetts in 1935 at age 71. Career average of .290, 42 home runs, 932 RBIs, 352 stolen bases. Tucker played for the Baltimore Orioles, Boston Beaneaters, Washington Senators, Brooklyn Bridegrooms, St. Louis Browns, and Cleveland Spiders between 1887 and 1899. So this was the end of his MLB career. He was the American Association batting leader in 1889. 5 seasons, he scored 100-plus runs. He was a switch hitter, a flashy first baseman who used flashy first baseman. It was normal to use 2 hands for first baseman. But Tucker would make one-handed scoops of wild throws with a small glove. However, he had a bad attitude. They called him Foghorn and Tommy Talker. He did not know when to shut up, reportedly. Harry Lockhead was the shortstop for the Spiders. He hit .238, 7 doubles, a triple, a home run, 43 RBIs, 23 stolen bases in 148 games. He also pitched in a game. He pitched one game, 3 2/3 innings, and did not give up a run. Lockhead was from Stockton, California. He died in Stockton in 1909 at age 33. Career average of .231, a home run, 45 RBIs. Lockhead played for the Cleveland Spiders, Detroit Tigers, and Philadelphia Athletics between 1899 and 1901. He died at age 33 from a long-lasting liver complaint, 1 month after overexposure when he became lost in the desert near Bakersfield, California. Harry Lockhead. Suter Sullivan was our third baseman. Sullivan hit .245, 16 doubles, 3 triples, 55 RBIs, 16 stolen bases in 127 games. Sullivan was from Baltimore, Maryland. He died in Baltimore in 1925 at age 52. Career average of .240, 67 RBIs. He played for the St. Louis Browns and Cleveland Spiders between 1898 and 1899. Suter Sullivan. In the outfield, we had Dick Harley, who hit .250, 15 doubles, 7 triples, a home run, 50 RBIs, 15 stolen bases, and 142 games. Harley was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He died in Philadelphia in 1952 at age 79. Career average of .262, 10 home runs, 236 RBIs. Harley played for the St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, Cincinnati Reds, Detroit Tigers, and Chicago Cubs between 1897 and 1903. In a game in 1897, he had 6 hits in one game. Dick Harley. Sport McAllister was another regular outfielder. McAllister hit .237, 6 doubles, 8 triples, a home run, 31 RBIs, 5 stolen bases in 113 games. He also pitched 3 games at a record of 0-1 with an ERA of 9.56, 1 start and 1 complete game. Sport McAllister. Tommy Dowd was another regular outfielder. Dowd hit .278, 17 doubles, 6 triples, 2 home runs, 35 RBIs, 28 stolen bases in 147 games. Dowd was from Holyoke, Massachusetts. He died in Holyoke in 1933 at age 64. Career average of .271, 24 home runs, 501 RBIs, and 368 stolen bases. Dowd played for the Boston Reds, Washington Senators, St. Louis Browns, Philadelphia Phillies, Cleveland Spiders, and Boston Americans between 1891 and 1901. He was the manager for the St. Louis Browns in 1896 and 1897. They called him Buttermilk Tommy. He discovered Rabbit Moranville, who made it to the Hall of Fame. Dowd died from an accidental drowning in the Connecticut River. Tommy Dowd. He was now in 1899, Dowd was a veteran near the end of the line. He was a solid but unspectacular, below-average hitter, a decent fielder, one of the best players for the 1899 Spiders. And Dowd had this to say about that year, quote, "At least 50 times the past season, we have gotten together at the hotel before going to the grounds and said, 'We'll win that game today or break our necks.' We would mean it too, but all the other teams would jump at the start and skin us so bad that we come off the field hanging down and our good intentions shattered." Tommy Dowd. Now, the bench players included Charlie Hemphill, who was another outfielder. Hemphill hit 277, 3 doubles, 5 triples, 2 home runs, 23 RBIs, 3 stolen bases in 55 games. Hemphill was from Greenville, Michigan. He died in Detroit, Michigan in 1953 at age 77. Career average of 271, 22 home runs, 421 RBIs, 1,230 hits. Hemphill played for the St. Louis Perfectos, St. Louis Cardinals, Cleveland Spiders, Boston Americans, Cleveland Broncos, St. Louis Browns, and New York Highlanders between 1899 and 1911. They called him Eagle Eye, Charlie Hemphill. Ossie Schreckengast was another bench player. He was a spare catcher. Schreckengast hit 313, pretty good, 8 doubles, 3 triples, 10 RBIs, 4 stolen bases in 43 games. Ossie Schreckengast. Jim Duncan was a utility player. He was a catcher and a first baseman. Duncan hit 229, 2 doubles, 3 triples, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs in 31 games. Duncan was from Salzburg, Pennsylvania. He died in Foxburg, Pennsylvania in 1901 at age 30. Career average of 230, 2 home runs, 14 RBIs. Duncan played for the Washington Senators and Cleveland Spiders in 1899. He drowned in a fishing trip. He and 2 friends, they took out dynamite to try to kill the fish, which is pretty bad. And anyway, apparently the dynamite exploded, and when the dynamite exploded, the boat that they were on overturned. And a few days later, their bodies were found. So the lesson is, don't use dynamite when you're fishing, because it's not good sport, not good for the environment. Jim Duncan. Chief Zimmer was back. He was one of the very few familiar faces. My favorite Cleveland Spider of all time. Zimmer hit 342, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, 14 RBIs, a stolen base in only 20 games. He was the one familiar face. The team granted his wish to stay in Cleveland. Very popular player, and he was the top hitter. He was released in the middle of the season to cut costs. Oh boy, Chief Zimmer. Harry Cauliflower was a utility player and a pitcher. Cauliflower hit 303, 23 hits, 4 doubles, 9 RBIs in 23 games. His record as a pitcher was 1-11, an ERA of 8.17, 12 starts and 11 complete games. Cauliflower was from Petersville, Maryland. He died in Washington, D.C. in 1961 at age 92. They called him Collie. He was an umpire for 2 years, and his MLB career was just with the Spiders in 1899. They called him the pitching vegetable, Harry Cauliflower. Otto Kruger was a spare infielder. Kruger hit 227, 10 hits, a double, 2 RBIs, a stolen base in 13 games. Kruger was from Chicago, Illinois. He died in St. Louis, Missouri in 1961 at age 84. Career average of 251, 5 home runs, 196 RBIs. Kruger played for the Cleveland Spiders, St. Louis Cardinals, Pittsburgh Pirates, Philadelphia Phillies between 1899 and 1905. They called him Paul. He got this nickname after the president of the Transvaal in South Africa, Paul Kruger, because of the American interest in the Boer War. Otto Kruger. Jack Stivitz was a utility player. He was a pitcher and an outfielder. Stivitz hit 205, 8 hits, a double, a triple, 2 RBIs in 18 games. His pitching record was 0-4 with an ERA of 5.68, 7 games, 4 starts, 3 complete games. Stivitz was from Ashland, Pennsylvania. He died in Ashland in 1930 at age 62. A career record of 203 and 132, so he had a pretty good career, won more than 200 games. 1,223 strikeouts. Stivitz played for the St. Louis Browns, Boston Bean Eaters, and Cleveland Spiders between 1889 and 1899, so this was the end of his career. He was the American Association ERA champion in 1889, and also in the American Association he was the strikeout champion in 1891. He threw a no-hitter in 1892 for the Boston Bean Eaters. They called him Happy Jack because of his pleasant demeanor. He won 4 titles with the Boston Bean Eaters. In 1890, he had 7 home runs, which was a record for a pitcher until 1931. His batting record was .298, 35 home runs, 357 RBIs, so he could hit. After he retired, he was a brewery driver and a carpenter. He was the best hitting pitcher of his era. They were hoping that he could regain his pitching form or help in the outfield. Jack Stivitz. Louis Sockalexis was back. He played some outfield. Sockalexis hit .273, 6 hits, a double, 3 RBIs in only 7 games. Sockalexis had lost his speed. He had problems with his ankle, and he was overweight. He weighed more than 200 pounds. The highlight, the highlight of his year and sort of his swan song. In one game, Sockalexis had 4 singles and a double, so he had 5 hits. His last hurrah. However, his fielding wasn't good. He was poor in base running. In that same game, he dropped 2 easy fly balls. In right field, he appeared to be daydreaming most of the time. Several fly balls dropped for hits that he could have caught. And Sockalexis didn't notice them coming. I guess he wasn't paying attention. In Pittsburgh, he had he fielded 2 singles cleanly, but fell over with a thud. He was drunk. He was drunk on the field again, and 2 days later he was arrested. 2 days later he was released. He had been arrested in downtown Cleveland around that time for a disturbance in a theater, and he'd been doing a lot of drinking on Short Vincent Street in downtown Cleveland. He had ankle pain, a gimpy gait. He was thrown out at home trying to score from third on a single, so it shows how slow he was. Now, when he was arrested in a theater, he had fallen asleep and was snoring so loud that the theater manager asked the police to remove Louis Sockalexis. So that was a sad ending to his MLB career. Jack Clemens was another catcher. Clemens hit .250, 3 hits, scored a run in 4 games. Clemens was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He died in Norristown, Pennsylvania in 1941 at age 76. Career average of .286, 1,226 hits, 687 RBIs. Clemens played for the Philadelphia Keystones, Philadelphia Quakers, Philadelphia Phillies, St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, Boston Beaneaters between 1884 and 1900. He was the manager for the Philadelphia Phillies in 1890. The first catcher to play 1,000 MLB games. And he was the first catcher to wear a chest protector. He's ranked 58th among the greatest catchers in MLB history, Jack Clemens. George Bristow was a spare outfielder. Bristow hit .125. He had 1 hit, which was a double in 3 games. Bristow was from Paw Paw, Illinois. He died in Bellingham, Washington in 1939 at age 69. His MLB career was just with Cleveland in 1899, but he continued in the minor leagues until 1906. George Bristow. Charlie Ziegler was a middle infielder. Ziegler hit .250, 2 hits in 2 games. Ziegler was from Canton, Ohio. He died in Canton in 1904 at age 29. Career average of .263, an RBI in 5 games. Ziegler played for the Cleveland Spiders and Philadelphia Phillies between 1899 and 1900. Charlie Ziegler. Now the pitching staff, the ace pitcher was Jim Huey, who hit .162, 18 hits, a double, 5 RBIs in 36 games. Huey's pitching record, he won 4 games, lost 30, and an ERA of 5.41, 36 games, 34 starts, 32 complete games. Huey was from Waukesha, Michigan. He died in Coldwater, Michigan in 1945 at age 76. His career record was 29 and 80. 4.87 ERA, 250 strikeouts. Huey played for the Milwaukee Brewers, Chicago Colts, Pittsburgh Pirates, St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, and St. Louis Cardinals between 1891 and 1900. He set the record for the last MLB player to lose 30 games in 1 year. They called him Smiling Jim. After he retired, he managed a farm and a local store. He enjoyed trapping and hunting, and he was glad to talk about his baseball career with anyone who was interested, despite his embarrassing records. Jim Huey. Charlie Nepper was second in the rotation. Nepper hit .135, 12 hits, 2 doubles, a triple, 2 RBIs in 27 games. Nepper won 4 games, lost 22. ERA of 5.78, 27 games, 26 starts, 26 complete games. Knepper was from Anderson, Indiana. He died in Muncie, Indiana in 1946 at age 74. He was notoriously slow of foot. In June 24th, he had a double, and the Cleveland Plain Dealer reported, quote, "A hay wagon drawn by lame horses could have reached third, but Knepper is no hay wagon and had no lame horses to assist him." His MLB career was just with Cleveland in 1899. Charlie Knepper. Crazy Schmidt was another guy in the rotation. Schmidt hit 157, 11 hits, an RBI, 2 doubles, in 25 games. Schmidt's pitching record, he won 2 games, lost 17, ERA of 5.86, 20 games, 19 starts, 16 complete games. Schmidt was from Chicago. He died in Chicago, Illinois in 1940 at age 74. His career record as a pitcher was 7-36, ERA of 5.45, 93 strikeouts. Schmidt pitched for the Pittsburgh Alleghenies, Baltimore Orioles, New York Giants, and Cleveland Spiders between 1890 and 1901. He was one of baseball's nuttiest people. In Baltimore, after a game, he was seen standing on a soapbox selling baseballs that he had stolen from the game for $5 each. Crazy Schmidt. Frank Bates was another starting pitcher. Bates hit .215, 14 hits, a double, 3 RBIs in 21 games. His pitching record, he won 1 game and lost 18. An ERA of 7.24, 19 starts, and 17 complete games. Frank Bates. Kid Carsey was another pitcher. Carsey hit .278, 10 hits, 4 RBIs in 11 games. Carsey's pitching record, he won 1 game, lost 8. ERA of 5.68, 9 starts, and 8 complete games. Carsey was from New York, New York. He died in Miami, Florida in 1960 at age 89. His pitching record for his career was 100. He won 116 games, lost 138. ERA of 4.95, 484 strikeouts. Carsey pitched for the Washington Statesmen, Philadelphia Phillies, St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, Washington Senators, New York Giants, and Brooklyn Superbas between 1891 and 1901. Kid Carsey. Willie Sudhoff was another pitcher. Sudhoff hit .065, 2 hits, a triple, 6 RBIs in 11 games. Sudhoff's pitching record was 3-8 with an ERA of 6.98, 11 games, 10 starts, 8 complete games. Sudhoff was from St. Louis, Missouri. He died in St. Louis in 1917 at age 42. His career record was 102 and 135, an ERA of 3.60, 516 strikeouts. Sudhoff pitched for the St. Louis Browns, Cleveland Spiders, St. Louis Perfectos, St. Louis Cardinals, Washington Senators between 1897 and 1906. The highlight of his career was a pitching duel with Chief Bender, which went 10 innings and ended in a 0-0 tie. Willie Sudhoff. Bill Hill was another pitcher. Hill hit .129, 4 hits in 11 games. His record as a pitcher was 3-6 with an ERA of 6.97, 10 starts and 7 complete games. Hill was from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He died in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1938 at age 63. Career record of 36 and 69. ERA of 4.16, 280 strikeouts. Hill pitched for the Louisville Colonels, Cincinnati Reds, Cleveland Spiders, and Baltimore Orioles, and Brooklyn Superbas between 1896 and 1899. His brother Hugh Hill was also an MLB outfielder. It was reported that Hill was from moonshining country. In Tennessee, they called him Still Bill. He was known for his drunken antics and bar fights. Bill Hill. Jack Harper was another pitcher. Harper hit .182, 2 hits, an RBI in 5 games. His pitching record was 1-4 with an ERA of 3.89, 5 starts, and 5 complete games. Harper was from Galloway, Pennsylvania. He died in Jamestown, New York in 1950 at age 72. Career record of 80 and 64, ERA of 3.55, 466 strikeouts. Harper pitched for the Cleveland Spiders, St. Louis Cardinals, St. Louis Browns, Cincinnati Reds, and Chicago Cubs between 1899 and 1906. In 1904, Harper hit Cubs first baseman Frank Chance 3 times in 1 game. And then in 1906, when Chance was the manager for the Cubs, and that the last time he hit him, Chance was knocked out cold. So in 1906, Chance, as manager of the Cubs, traded for Harper, cut his salary by 2/3, and sat him on the bench for the entire season. I guess he did that so he wouldn't have to face him and get hit by the pitch again. Jack Harper. Harry Maupin was another pitcher. Maupin batted 10 times, did not get a hit in 5 games. His pitching record was 0-3 with an ERA of 12.60, 3 starts and 2 complete games. Maupin was from Willsville, Missouri. He died in Parsons, Kansas. His record as a pitcher was 0-5 with an ERA of 9.63 for his career. Pitched for the St. Louis Browns and Cleveland Spiders between 1898 and 1899. Eddie Kolb was another pitcher. Kolb hit .250. He had 1 hit and 4 at-bats in 1 game. And his pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 10.13, 1 start and 1 complete game. Kolb was from Cincinnati, Ohio. He died in Calgary, Alberta, Canada in 1949 at age 69. His last game, he pitched in the last game of the 1899 season. And Kolb was a clerk in a tobacco shop, and he kept asking if he could pitch for the Spiders. And so they finally agreed to let him pitch, and he was paid a box of cigars. So he was just a guy who, asked if he could pitch, and they let him pitch. And because what the heck, he ran a successful restaurant for 22 years. He was heavily involved in an oil field. He was the first secretary of the Alberta Petroleum Association. Eddie Kolb. And finally, Highball Wilson was another pitcher. Wilson hit .333, 1 hit, which was a double in 3 at-bats. Wilson's pitching record was 0-1 with an ERA of 9.00, 1 start and 1 complete game. Wilson was from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He died in Havre de Grace, Maryland in 1934 at age 56. Career record of 14-27, ERA of 3.29, 86 strikeouts. Wilson pitched for the Cleveland Spiders, Philadelphia Athletics, and Washington Senators between 1899 and 1904, and he won a title with the Philadelphia Athletics in 1902. So the Spiders were dropped from the National League after the 1899 season. 4 teams, in fact, were dropped: the Washington Senators, Baltimore Orioles, Louisville Colonels, and Cleveland Spiders. So the National League went from a 12-team league to an 8-team league, and Spiders owner Frank Robeson was paid $25,000 by the National League to cease operations. So that's the story of the 1899 Cleveland Spiders, the end of an era. And, of course, the following year we'd have a new franchise in the American League, which became the Cleveland Indians. So a very tough year for the Cleveland Spiders, and you have to give those guys a lot of credit for going out there and playing, even though they kept losing game after game after game. You have to give them a lot of credit, for going out there and competing and trying. God bless the players for the 1899 Cleveland Spiders and everyone associated with the team, including the fans, especially the Civil War veterans. It's been 34 years, so those guys were getting older. Tribe, Browns, Cavs, Monsters, and Gladiators rule. Cleveland, City of Champions. It's been 70 years since 1948. This is our year. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, fans of the Free Stamp Statue and the Fountain of Eternal Life, Euclid Avenue Electricity, First Energy Stadium friends, Progressive Field pals, Quicken Loans Arena enthusiasts, Severance Hall stalwarts. Thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.